There is no NATO if we don't defend Article 5. But if we do, we run the risk of massive casualties, possibly nuclear war. So this is a horrible situation. Now, it can be, in real life, it could be thwarted. How? By building up the deterrent force of NATO in the Baltics right now, rather than waiting for the possibility that a Russian leader might be tempted to go grab it. Right now, there are fewer than 5,000 NATO forces stretched out in the three countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, which are right on the border with Russia. That's not that many when you're facing 100,000 Russians. If you had more, you might create a high enough speed bump that the Russian leader wouldn't be tempted. But in the novel, this is the crisis that builds to a head.
Yeah, and the book is called The Kremlin Conspiracy. Obviously, it's not really about these three countries, or even one of the three countries that the Russian leader wants to, well, we could say annex, these countries having been part of the former Soviet Union. So obviously there is a bigger agenda, and that apparently is to weaken or obliterate NATO, I would imagine, exactly. Or maybe there's more.
No, completely undermine and collapse NATO.
Yeah.
I believe that you grab one of those countries, NATO doesn't respond, that's it. That's the end of NATO. And now, a Russian leader doesn't have to go take France or England or Poland. Suddenly, everybody is cowering because they know the United States hasn't done anything, NATO hasn't done anything, and now a leader sitting in the Kremlin can blackmail countries into doing whatever he wants them to do, and not just there, but the Middle East, Asia. I mean, everyone. This guy would suddenly go from a threatening leader with a military and 10th largest country in the world to the superpower on the planet, because the Russians have 7,000 nuclear warheads. They have ballistic missiles. It's not as though they're not capable of firepower, but nobody currently believes that it's that big a deal. We've allowed in real life, now I'm shifting off the novel back to real life.
Yeah, okay, note, Joel is now getting back into real life, which I'm dying to do myself, so thank you for taking that initiative.
So the world is giving Putin a pass. Putin has invaded Georgia, and he occupies 20% of it. He's invaded Crimea, and he annexed it on March 18th. That's when he's going to have re-election for himself this coming March 18th.
Yeah.
As just a stick in the eye to the world that he grabbed a territory and nobody stopped him. He grabbed the eastern Ukraine in the Donbass region. He owns it. He is helping Bashar Assad help slaughter hundreds of thousands of people. Nobody stopped him. And this is a guy who, as one expert on Russia once said, dictators aren't stopped until they're stopped. If this guy, the trajectory of what he's done is every few years he goes and grabs something else and the world doesn't stop him. I believe Vladimir Putin is more dangerous than radical Islam, which is saying something.
No doubt.
But if the world continues to do nothing, this guy is going to think I can do more and more. It doesn't, give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk. This guy is eating a whole bag of Oreos, and the world has said, there's nothing we can do about it. This is setting us up for one of the most dangerous moments in U.S.-Russian, U.S.-European relations ever since the 1962 missile crisis in Cuba.
Wow. All right, time for the lightning round. Okay. I know that your novels are known for their faith as well as Bible prophecy sort of perspective. How does that figure in to the Kremlin Conspiracy?
Bible prophecy doesn't figure into this particular novel, except for those who know my teachings on Ezekiel 38 and 39, you will be looking at this going, Joel's back to Russia. All right, where does this all fit in? I didn't make it explicit, but it'll be interesting for people to read it. There's definitely a faith element. The main character, the hero in the book, is a former U.S. Secret Service agent named Marcus Riker. He's a believer, but some very devastating personal things have happened in his life. He thinks he's taking a break and trying to catch his breath after some very sad things have happened. And what he finds himself is smack dab in the middle of the worst crisis between the United States and Russia in human history. And this is a faith challenge for him. How do I operate as a believer in Christ, a former Secret Service agent in Moscow in the midst of this crisis? And it's a challenge.